You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Feeling lucky? All bets are on Bookie, the hilarious comedy from Chuck Lorre and Nick Bakay, starring Sebastian Maniscalco as an old-school bookmaker just trying to stay alive in a world of bad beats. Does a house always win? Find out as Bookie returns for Season 2, December 12th on Max. Please watch responsibly.
Hey, aren't you that PBM?
Middleman, at your service, doctor.
Don't you get rebates that save money on medicines?
Oh, PBMs like me get big rebates.
So why do patients tell me they're worried about their costs?
No one says we have to share the savings with patients.
Congress should make sure medicine savings go directly to patients, not middlemen. Visit phrma.org/middlemen to learn more. Paid for by pharma.
I'm glad that we have Andrew Hawkins in with us today because I'm more confused, Tony, today than I was yesterday, because you told me that last night was a who's who game. And I think the loser's a who, and I don't think the loser can be a who. I think the loser always is left off of who. You can only be a who in a who's game if you win the who.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if Detroit lost, we know they're a who. So Packers losing actually gets me a little bit closer to who than it does going away from who. And everybody was back here was like, what are they talking about? I was like, I get Dan. I know what he's trying to say. The Packers, the reason why, Mike, it was a who's who game, right? So I wanted to see the Packers come out, be that who. We know the Lions are who. We need the Packers to see if they're who. Now, in that game, we saw the Packers do some stuff to the Lions that other teams haven't been able to do. Yes, they lost, but still part of the who category.
All right, Dr. Seuss.
What the hell are we talking about?
Who's who game? Hawk, you know that.
A who's who game?
Yeah, who's who game.
Meaning like...
We're going to figure out who's who.
We're going to figure out who's who.
Exactly.
What do you mean, meaning like? What do you don't know what a who's who game? What kind of professional athlete are you? What do you mean you don't know what
we don't talk in who's who.
We find out. Last night there was a game played between the teams we think are good. We're sure about one of them.
So who's him?
Yeah. Cindy Lou Who.
Stop with the pronouns. There's no hims or hers here. It's just who's.
Oh, there were some hims out there.
Yeah, there were a lot of
Josh
hims.
Jacobs
was him. Yeah.
He was him. Gibbs was him.
Jared Goff. Him?
Dan Campbell is him.
Dan Campbell.
He is L. Well, dub.
He's a him.
You guys don't understand what I'm asking you. Mike and Jessica seem confused. Tony said it was a who's who game, which means if Green Bay goes to Detroit and beats Detroit, clearly they're a who. But they didn't beat Detroit.
No,
they lost to Detroit.
No, again, the more I see Detroit, the more I think that team desperately needs a loss.
Yeah.
That is a bad game to win.
One.
They need a loss.
They need a level set.
Yep.
Just to kind of, bring them down to earth.
Look, is this team just going to lose one game all season? They need the little wake-up call.
Yeah.
They need the wake-up call.
Been there. Humbled. Mm-hmm. I was humbled a couple times in my career.
Well, you played for the Browns.
Yeah, like 16 games in a season. Like just every week where by Wednesday I'd be like, you know what? I think I'm who.
How do you?
By Sunday, it was right back to reality.
That team set a record for wake-up calls in a season.
They were like, who?
Who?
Why?
Cleveland's basically just Whoville.
It is. We are Whoville for sure. Bunch of Grinches. Oh, yeah. No, I think are we saying the Packers aren't good? Is that?
No, they're good.
They're like good. I'm not.
They're
who.
good.
They're
who.
good.
They're who.
You
Are
can't
they
be a who when you lose.
You can though, Dan.
Exactly right.
They covered.
They covered.
And great teams.
If you're a Packers fan, you leave that game like, oh, we got a chance. Because the Lions have been the best team in the NFL for the entirety of the season. So when you go in that game and you go down early and it doesn't go the way that you want it, and still you didn't play your best game. Jordan Love had some throws. He was off balance. He started to show some of that, yo, bro, you can't take that kind of risk in this situation at times. And they still battled. Josh Jacobs, the whole squad. You got a chance.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Is there any particular reason, Mike Ryan, that you just hit the breaking news sound in my own private headset and then started reading off news to just me and not the audience? Is there any reason that you did that, interrupting my train of thought before we started the show?
Well, I didn't tell the audience because we weren't on the air, but I'll tell the audience right now. As reported by the Bill Simmons podcast, Jesse the Body Ventura is returning to the WWE announce table to call Saturday night's main event on NBC. This is a lot of people's childhood, having Jesse the Body Ventura on NBC calling Saturday night's main event. Thought once unthinkable. Jesse Ventura is back.
Speaking of unthinkable, the way he delivered that news in my headset was to say Jesse Ventura confirms. I'm like, what did Trump do now?
Yeah, I thought it was the cabinet. I was like, let's see what the body's going to do.
In the last oral history episode, we did a supercut, and our interview with Jesse Ventura was included. Not that shocking anymore. His conspiracy theory wasn't really a conspiracy theory. It was that the Saudis funded 9/11, but we felt the need to push back. Whoa, you can't. And then like a couple of years later, that doesn't look too kooky. Credit to this country for looking like a lot crazier since that interview happened.
I am thankful that Andrew Hawkins is here today again after another magical Thursday night game. I don't know if I'm oversharing here, Hawk, so you tell me, because you're a businessman now. And we were leaving the other day, and I was lamenting as we were leaving. I'm like, I don't know how to lead. I don't know. I don't know how to lead. And your response is some form of, nobody does.
That's a fact.
Well, you say that's a fact, but I don't think that when we watch Dan Campbell right now, the reason I want to analyze this with you is because I really am fascinated, because I know all of the history here. Not just Lions are a laughingstock eternally.
Yeah.
Their fans are going to be nuts about this team because it's so rare for them to have expectations. And the man who leads them was a fool in Miami. Like, we made fun of Man Campbell so much.
Yeah, that's a youth thing.
He was the interim head coach.
That was a youth thing. You're always like, these hoorah leaders. That's not a real thing. And the Dolphins were bad at the time. It was a no-win position. You ended up being wrong. You could capitulate. Yeah. A real leader of men is like Jesse Ventura, because he actually got blackballed from the WWE because he tried to start a union. And Vince McMahon was like, you're not doing that. But then he became governor and he realized he could make more money, so he brought him in to referee SummerSlam in New York.
Nice.
You remember that one? I believe it was Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It was a who's who match.
Yeah. We found out who was that one. So now he's back and it's great. I'm so happy.
How's that union coming?
It still hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Just wanted to double check back in on
And
that.
then they partnered up with the company that owns the UFC, and they're like, we are going to be so good at not allowing unions.
It's like, you talking about doubling down on no unions?
Jessica, you look sad. Is it because Mike Ryan and Jesse Ventura and the WWE seem to be against unions? You're pro-union. I'm pro-union.
Are you pro-union, Hawk?
I was in a union, the Players Association. I was a union rep.
A lot of pro-union people here, Dan. Yeah. I'm sad because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I went to the opening of Jimmy Butler's new coffee brick and mortar in the Design District. The espresso martinis were flowing.
Wow.
So I'm easing into my morning today.
Traffic, a lot of bad traffic. Was it terrible to get there and back? Yeah, it must have been terrible, right? I got stuck behind a fire truck and neither of us could move yesterday. And he's like asking me to move with his siren. I'm like, I can't move. I'm trying to move. That's a lot of fun. To spend 40 minutes with just a fire truck behind you just making siren sounds.
That can't get to a fire, and you're just like, what do you want me to do? Sorry.
We just stuck in traffic. What do you do if you're a fire truck and none of the
you
traffic
got to at least
is moving?
veer a little to the right.
No,
show that you're making an effort here.
Sorry,
you see me. You see me.
Dan versus
I'm to the
fire
right
truck.
Here. My bumper's up against the side of the wall here. I can't go any further.
So what happens? What does the fire? Does they get out of the fire truck?
People die.
You get out and you're like, how can I help?
With
you
the
get
lights
out of your
on?
car. You gotta.
It wasn't an emergency situation though, right? It was not.
It was, yes. Those are when the fire truck is hitting the sirens.
Oh, wow.
That's. I mean,
Okay.
You get out and you be like, I'll go check, and you just like run away from your car just to make it look like you're helping.
We can switch cars.
He never
Take mine.
turned off the siren. Like, it was to alert me that it's an emergency, and he was just I've never seen it before. It's not something. I don't know if, like, what do you do if because it's a 2-lane highway? It was a 2-lane street, and nobody could move off off to the sides, and there was just nothing moving. And I'm legitimately asking you, I'm sitting in traffic trying to figure out, I've never seen this scenario before. I can't move, he can't move. I'm in the way of somebody who needs desperate emergency help, and this fire truck cannot move.
There was a lot of people that day that saw things they didn't expect to see, apparently, because this fire truck was stuck in traffic.
I've never been in a spot where I couldn't move a little bit. That would be, I would in that point get out of my car. How can I help? I can't move. How can I help?
Now you're just somebody standing in traffic.
I take like 2 cups of water and I just start running forward from my car.
You said this was yesterday, Dan. I Googled it. It doesn't look like there were any fires yesterday. If this was 2 days ago, though, ooh.
No, it was yesterday. It was right here under the bridge under here.
Could have been a rescue. Not all fire engines are responding to a fire.
Yeah. Probably a cat in a tree.
Or
it's ducks, honestly. My brother-in-law is a firefighter, and I make fun of him all the time for what he's going to get a cat out of a tree. He's like, no, it's a duck in the drains.
Wow. Now that's leadership.
So
what a hero.
Let's get back. Thank you for bringing me back here.
Did Hawks say no one's a good leader? Weren't you in the Patriots camp for a little bit?
I was. And I'm like, there's no leadership here.
Really? You had Tom Brady and
That's why I retired. I couldn't find the leadership in New England.
Dan, does that make you feel better?
Well, I want to explore this with him because Dan Campbell might stop me on the idea whether Man Campbell was a fool here or not. He was a lovable caveman. We certainly didn't think that we'd be looking up in a few years and, hey, Belichick can't get a job, has to try in college. But you know who the best coach in the NFL is? Man Campbell, because he's not afraid of anybody. He's going for it on fourth down. And I want to talk to Hawk about the idea, I'm going to say the illusion of leadership, because what's happened here is this is a great team, and the coaching is important. The offensive coordinator is great, and this guy's passion is also great. But it'll get called leadership now, whether it is leadership or not, because they've lost one game. So you tell me, Hawk, what you do with Dan Campbell after the game here.
I told you you'd never forget this game. You will never forget this game. We don't have to talk about how tough we are. We don't have to talk about how resilient we are. We live it, man. We've been living it. Where's our defense at? Offense, that's the way to step up, man. That's the way to step up. There you go, Skip. Keep throwing up, whatever you're doing over there. That's way to freaking land on the line. Guys, I'm so freaking proud of you, man. That's the way to show up. You talk about pressure, we live in pressure. That's where we freaking thrive. You did it again. You did it again. All right? It doesn't matter who's playing for us. It doesn't matter what's going on. You always find a way to win. That's what champions do. This is not happenstance, man. This doesn't just happen. This has been in the making, man. This has been in the making. All right? We are all supposed to be here together, man. We're destined for this. Just stay the course.
That is a classic dopamine addiction, is what you're looking at there.
It's me every time I hang out with my high school friends at a bar.
Is it good leadership?
So here's what my point is about nobody knows how to lead. The people who can get people to follow them are just being themselves. And naturally you gravitate to something that somebody is born with. So anytime that I've been around someone who is like faux trying to show leadership, I sense it. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like you. Dan Campbell was the right amount of dumb. That's what's special about him. Why would you go for it there? Just kick the field goal and logically put your team out there who all the guys you said will step up, and they continually step up. Trust them with 40-something seconds left. But he has his gut feeling. He rides with it because it's every bit of his action aligns with who he's always shown himself to be to his team. They're like, okay, is this what we're doing? Then let's go.
Well, okay, that's interesting you should say that, because I sat down. I had one of the great compliments of my career yesterday, like really high on the list. I got to sit down with Mike Miller and Udonis Haslam on their OG podcast, which I really like. And the way they talked about me sort of just caught me entirely off guard. I was really surprised. And somewhere in there, they were valuing authenticity. And I appreciated from them because both of them were so authentic throughout the entirety of their careers. But one of the things that they said that I was surprised by, and you tell me whether this is surprising to you at all. We were talking about from 2010 through 2014, those Miami Heat teams. So much fun for us to watch. And I'm looking at them, and both of them are like, yeah, there was no joy there. that was 4 years of no joy. Like, we'd win at the end, and that was great, but no joy because the pressure of the expectations. That team now has those expectations. They look like they're having fun. Do you even understand what I'm saying there? Because I was stunned to hear those guys say that those 4 years, as joyous as any we've ever had in sports, they're like, no, the pressure was too much. It was too much every day. It was what was happening around us was not fun. None of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've seen that situation. I understand that. That's what expectation does. Now, I will say the Lions don't feel that way now because they're kind of at the beginning of that arc, and they're still the Lions. That even this year, for when you watch them on tape, how much better they are than other teams. I mean, they beat people down at times. They are talented at every position on both sides of the ball, even after losing probably their best player in Aiden Hutchinson. But still, there's this little tick that says that the Lions and people aren't quite opted in yet, Tony.
And the other thing, too, is they don't really have a bona fide superstar, right? When you talk about LeBron in the 2010 to 2014, like he was the villain of the world. He was the one superstar. The scrutiny, the microscope was always on him. D-Wade, Chris Bosh. You look at the Lions, you're like, Amon-Ra St. Brown's a nice story. He's a good player, but like he's not a bona fide superstar. You got Jared Goff, who was a cast out, went to the Super Bowl, ended up getting traded. They won a Super Bowl. Like Aiden Hutchinson is probably one of their biggest stars, but like outside of that, like who do they have?
Dan Campbell. He's the superstar.
There you go, Skip. Keep throwing up. Whatever you're doing over there.
The coach is a star.
That's an all-time line.
As a recovering former Browns fan, they need a loss thing is a legit thing. I hate how good the vibes are.
The Bears
right now.
tried to give them one. The Bears, and then they just were the Bears.
Now, I know you have to hurt. It's a little different in the NFL. In the NBA, you definitely have to have pain, and this franchise did have pain last year, the Brandon Ayuk catch in the NFC title game. But I don't know. There's just something that goes over this franchise and that sports town that I just back in my mind, I'm like, this isn't gonna work out. There's going to be some heartbreak. I'm fully hoping that the Super Bowl is Buffalo versus Detroit because both those teams have that. So at least one of those teams can shed it.
But the Detroit Lions, bro, are so good, Mike. I get what you're saying, and I've seen that in teams where it's like I would say that's more about the Chiefs more than anything. I think they're being tricked into thinking that they're the same Chiefs team that they've been in years past, and they keep like getting lucky in the waning moments of games. But Detroit, they are good, bro. And it's not just talent-wise. When you watch the way that each position plays, from the receiver to Penei Sewell has a highlight tape that I would watch.
He is so good.
He's an offensive lineman. And when you see him change direction, block multiple people on single plays, like they are special. And I think like their expectation is Super Bowl.
I have a hot take.
Give me a hot take.
On Penei Sewell. You should be talked about in the MVP conversation.
Okay, you're drunk. That's not a hot take.
No. He's the first player so far in NFL history to not concede a sack but get sacked. Just because of the play call that they had on Thanksgiving where they called a Penei Sewell pass, I was like, that guy should be in the MVP conversation.
Lane Johnson would get so upset if that happened. Hasn't Lane Johnson been doing this for years? He's like never given up a sack. And he's like, this guy's been here 2 years. Look, he gets an MVP?
It's an award that is specifically designed for offensive players and a kicker one random time. But I think that if you look at their team and you say that they don't have a superstar, the guy that's best at his job on that team, and they have plenty of good ones, especially now that Hutchinson's out, it's very clear who the best player on that team is at his job. It's Penei Sewell.
I'll give you another hot take. The Bengals should have drafted Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase, even still today.
Wow.
That's not a hot take.
That's not a hot take?
No.
Jamar Chase is the
NFL
best
hipsters
receiver.
have been saying this for years. I think there's a lot of agreement
People
about
were dunking on me on Twitter for saying Penei Sewell was the pick.
Yours is a tired, recycled take stolen from other people who are way ahead of you on something that
That's not what I was. Dan, don't pit us against
we
each
were
other.
shocked. We were all shocked here at the
Typical union
suggestion
buster.
that an offensive lineman would be better than a wide receiver. Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show, Juju, because I've got some questions based on what it is you guys just said. At LeBatard Show, can an offensive lineman ever win the MVP? At LeBatard Show, Mike Ryan just mentioned, and this in retrospect, I can't believe that you just skipped over this because I want to place it in front of you again. We just skipped right past it. I want you all to imagine the MVP award being announced this year and a kicker being named the MVP the way Mark Mosley was. I want you to try and imagine that a kicker would ever be named the MVP of football.
There were a couple of years ago where I would have argued Justin Tucker deserves at least some consideration because their entire identity was like, all right, Justin, win this one for us.
The thing that I wanted to ask Andrew, though, about what Tony was saying, because you say Sewell is the Lions' best player, and he says St. Brown's not a star. And he's not a star, but the production is that of a star. Like a star on a winning team gets to you cannot argue. I ask you as a wide receiver, what that person does as a number one receiver for that team seems pretty unstoppable to me.
He's an incredible player, but I feel like star isn't always directly tied to your stats or what you mean to your football team. And we have this like issue in professional football and professional sports in general that the way we're introduced to you is how we'll kind of always see you. You are who you are. He's not a first round pick. He's not a 6'4", 210-pound 4.3 runner from the University of Alabama. So always he's going to be a blue collar, lunch pail, you've overachieved type of player, and because of that, it's going to be hard for him to reach star status.
Okay, so let's examine one of the things that he's saying here and bring it over to basketball when he talks about first-round pick, because I was thinking about this and what plagues the Miami Heat as they chase the Boston Celtics here. It wasn't that long ago in the bubble at the rim, Bam blocking Jason Tatum, that those two franchises were even. At that point, they were the same. And the difference was Bam blocking Tatum at the rim. Since then, architecturally, the Celtics have made a change with Porzingis. But what you have happening right now with the Heat is, and this is why Pat Riley hasn't blown it up, he keeps asking Tyler Hero, Bam, and Jimmy Butler to be the three all-stars that it looks like Boston has. Are our all-stars better than their all-stars? And then what I start doing is first-round picks. Well, all their all-stars, their ceiling is higher than where Heroes and Bams and Jimmy Butlers were. When the measurements were being made, Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Porzingis, they're the top of the top. Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam will make the most with what we've got. And then what happens is the separation between those two teams because your number ones can't get to the ceiling of their number ones. And then you fall behind forever because their guys are young like that. And so I wonder, can the analysis be that on in basketball that Jimmy Butler, what Jimmy Butler's ceiling is, what Tyler Hero's ceiling is, what Bam's ceiling is what their draft status says it is. But what Tatum's and Brown's and Porzingis is that's a different stratosphere of what the talent tells you it's valued at is in that sport. It just usually doesn't grow quite that symmetrically where you saw the two teams were even and you're like, no, they're not. No, they're not even.
I think they would have been fine had they made another acquisition, though. They were in the game for Damian Lillard. They failed. Now, that might not have worked out, but I think you're selling Boston short when you just put it on those guys. They got rid of Marcus Smart, too. They bring in Derek White. They made a bunch of acquisitions around that core three because that core three was faced with what Miami is pretty much faced with now, which is your core three isn't good enough. So they tried desperately to get a more representative sample just to see if that high-end expectation could be there, and they succeeded where Miami has failed in recent years in acquiring that talent. Howdy, folks. It's Mike making this podcast time Miller time. That's right. Miller Lite makes all the great times even better. Why? Dependability, for one. Great taste, less filling. You know exactly what you get. Everybody's going to be happy because they're going to be drinking on a beer that tastes like beer. Can you imagine it? A taste that you know that you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just great beer for people who like beer. And that is immense come this holiday season. Say you're hosting or you're going over to a holiday party. What do you bring with you? A 12-pack of them Miller Lights. Beautiful color, wonderful white cans. This incredible flavor that you know only Miller Lite can deliver you. And at just 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs per 12 ounces, Miller time is always a good time. Making memories at your year-end gatherings? Tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Stugotz here. Right now, my friends over at Simply Safe are extending their massive Black Friday deal for our Batard Show listeners. Simply Safe is the home security I trust to keep my home and family safe. I've been telling you that for years. This is your last chance to protect your home at Simply Safe's lowest prices of the year. Simply Safe is a new way to protect your home that stops intruders before they break into your home. Old school systems only take action once someone is already inside your home. That's too late. Simply Safe's Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it even happens. Simply Safe is extending its massive Black Friday deal for our listeners. This week only, you can take 50% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan. This is your last chance to claim their best offer of the year. Head to simplysafe.com/DLB to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Folks, listen up. The Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Will LA repeat? We'll find out. There's sure to be rim-rattling slams and no-look passes that bring the crowd to their feet. Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
Dan Le Batard.
I don't like smelly either.
Stugotz.
Women stay home in the kitchen where they belong.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Can I get you guys to examine some film here with me? Because I have been talking over the last couple of years about the entitlement that fans have or feel that they can behave a certain way in the age of social media around athletes and people who are in the middle of the spectacle, that you wouldn't behave that way in other settings. This season of Great Lions Expectations has a fan on the field before the game trash talking with Matt LaFleur because this fan feels comfortable enough to approach the coach and in general the Packers and say a bunch of things that it is unwise for him to be saying in a Branch jersey. Is that who is that? The fan, that bearded guy there that's just on the field. Did we get any information as to why he was on the field?
I think it's Matt Patricia.
I was just going to make that joke.
But I think we're confirming.
Internet doxing resources are all tied up right now.
Okay.
We're focusing on what happened in New York City. We'll find out this guy later.
When you were talking about a fan doing something inappropriate, I thought you meant the guy just wasting cheese behind you throughout this whole show. What a waste. That's a nice brick of cheddar.
Well, hold on. We don't know if it's a waste because we're only seeing him from the chest up. Maybe he's got a plate of nachos down there and he's grating the cheese on top of the nachos.
He's grating cheese onto the ground or onto the fan in front of him or onto the field. That is a disgusting waste of cheese.
Cheese is overrated.
Shame on you.
If I may, I wasn't allowed into Hard Rock.
I'm going to put it out there.
What?
Cheese is overrated.
Now you're just doing a thing. You're just trying to do. Let me give a hot take here.
That's not a hot take.
Get out.
I am black, and
Hold me back.
most black people become lactose intolerant when they reach like 23. Did you guys not know this?
No.
This is the thing. Let me.
Everyone's lactose
two
intolerant.
Americas.
3 Americas.
23.
3 Americas, 4 Americas. I don't know how many Americas it is, Tony. I'm just telling you that one of my elders would always tell me, like, man, boy, you like that milk. You love that cheese. And I'm like, yeah, it's great.
Ice cream.
They're like, when you get in your 20s, you're not going to be able to handle it. And lo and behold, me and all my friends, we're black. And for the majority of a lot of black people, you just become lactose, and it's not worth it after a while. Which has taught me that cheese is overrated.
Perhaps mixing a white friend?
Yeah. Nah.
You're good?
I'm good. We're pretty stacked in here.
This guy's like first row. Is he doing it onto the field? Where is that cheese going?
Look, they wouldn't allow me in a Hard Rock Stadium with a Zinn. How did this guy get a cheese grater in?
You think this guy brings more than one block? He's like, I need one for pregame. I need one. I got to have a few
Every
here.
time a camera comes around, he's just.
None of you will
cheese.
be surprised by this. I used to eat cheese just like that, government cheese, just like that. I would just take slices off it in front of the television. I am disgusted by myself as I say this,
I'm proud of you.
but cheese is overrated is as shocking a thing as has ever been said on this show.
I think properly rated is fine.
I think it's spot on. I think it's one of my best takes.
Do you not like nachos?
Behind my original take of Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase that everyone knows originated with me.
Answer the question about nachos first.
Do you not eat nachos?
Do you not
eat
like
pizza?
nachos?
I do eat pizza. I eat it. It's overrated.
It's like 80% cheese.
So I didn't say I'm like boycotting cheese.
If you go to an
I'm good with it.
So
I'm
properly
just, it's
rated.
overrated.
If you go to an Italian restaurant and they give you your dish and they go, I'm going to do cheese now, say when. You're just like, no thanks.
I say no.
Really?
Yeah.
That is great. That is great.
They serve me the pasta.
You
Cheese,
say
absolutely not. Please leave.
I make them look at me 3 times. Like, are you going to say when? And I'm just like,
You make
no,
them
keep going.
grade the cheese
Keep
and
going.
just give them straight eye contact.
How long do you have them
keep
go
going,
with it, Chris?
They look and they're like, this is it.
Maybe
right?
that's what this Lions fan was just doing.
You should have said when by now.
Someone had
and
a
I'm
bowl
just
of
like,
pasta in front of him.
Well, the never-ending possible is back.
It is?
Yeah.
He's just grating cheese on top of a Packers player. Hey, I don't think that guy should have been on the field, number one. And this is what I hate about the fandom, to your point, Dan. I don't like it irks me whenever fans are in spaces of people who are working and with the expectation that we have to do the show and pony dance. And that upsets me. So in a pregame, if you've ever been around me in a pregame, I'm a lunatic, not conducive for fandom.
I don't know.
The internet has found this person, by the way.
The cheese guy.
Yeah,
I was going to say, what?
Which guy?
Wait a minute.
cheese guy,
Wait,
the cheese guy.
Wait, because you were talking about New York as well. Hold
Yeah,
on.
no. That guy got away with it. So the cheese guy, though, we found him. Although he's got a very political name, so I'm not going to go with it. Block of cheese was in a clear bag. Hang grater was in my jacket arm. I don't like to sweat, so I took off the jacket as I entered. Had the grater stuffed in my arm. They asked me to shake my jacket while it was in there. That's how he snuck it in.
And you couldn't sneak in a Zinn? I'm saddened by that.
They were like, it's tobacco. I'm like, it's not tobacco. That's the whole point.
I will say that a cheese grater, you can do some real damage with a weapon as a cheese grater. As
What
a
are
weapon.
you going to do with a cheese grater?
I watched.
They're sharp.
Are you kidding? You never
sharp?
watched ECW in the 90s. Let me tell you something.
Grate my
You can do
face?
damage.
Yeah.
Damage with a cheese
Just
grater.
ask Abdullah the Butcher what that could do.
You guys don't think that if I if we were in a fight and I had a cheese grater, you don't think I've got a weapon that's advantageous to hurt you?
You have to like.
Absolutely do.
If I'm like laying down and just like grate me, like I'm
No,
not gonna like
it's-
let.
no,
I'm
this
just
is
gonna
a
give you
I'm
my
with Chris
hand.
Cody. This is ridiculous.
You
man.
You have to get me first.
I would roundhouse
grate the
kick the
shit out of
cheese
you.
grater out of your hand.
could
Then what do
grate
you
me, yep.
have?
No, you get graded. You haven't watched the new Evil Dead. There's a whole scene with a cheese grater.
Skin everywhere, bro.
Gross.
Can we get an update on New York City, please? A lot of people were live, and a lot of people are curious about.
We have a picture of his face, and yet the internet still hasn't figured out who this person is. But we only have an image of this person's face because of Riz. He checked in at a hostel, and he apparently, this is according to Caitlin Collins, was flirting with the person manning the front desk.
Hold on. I've got to tell people that a healthcare CEO was assassinated in the street, and there wasn't very much evidence of who it is that had done it. And now people are on the search for a face they do have, because it's not every day you have video footage of anyone just assassinated in the street or a healthcare CEO, because this isn't even about a murder in the street. This is about the healthcare crisis and who we can turn to a symbol in these times that also has a murder element to it, as people are downloading podcasts about murder, by the billions.
Yeah, we haven't had something like this either, where the internet's loose have like one huge common goal. But we only have this image, according to Caitlin Collins, because when he went to check in at this hostel, there was an alleged flirtation, and the person that was working the desk said, "Hey, lower your mask a little bit," and then he cheesed for the cameras a little bit. And now it appears he might be appearing on College Game Day on Saturday to pick some games, because that looks just like Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, he's handsome.
Yeah.
He has a good smile. I was thinking when they showed the picture, I'm like, is that inappropriate to say the guy has a nice smile?
It's a flirty smile too.
It's
That's not just
very
like a normal.
symmetrical.
That's very like, hey, yeah, thanks. I will lower my mask, actually.
This does look like Dune 2.
He's flexing. He's like, yeah, like, you don't know how good looking I am, do you?
The internet is trying to chase down this person, and we still don't know who it is that this person is. You would think that with just that information, many people would already have come forth, and we'd have a name and all manner of information.
Yeah, I mean, is it inappropriate to say that he appears like he has Riz? Probably, but has everyone on the internet already said it? Yes. That was sort of the react. I think you're good.
Okay.
That's my point.
All right. So as long as I'm not the first here, unlike my Penei Sewell take. But also, is it Riz if you're at a hostel?
It's Riz everywhere.
I don't think it is.
It's Riz everywhere, baby.
I don't think it's Riz if you're literally there to feel like you have Riz. If you have to pay for it, it's not Riz.
I'm a little worried.
Are you confusing hostel and brothel?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's just rich guy problems.
Good call, Tony.
Just no, because I heard what he was saying, and then I was like, wait a second.
Yep, I did.
You know what?
That is a fact.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yes,
and
I did
look,
confuse a hostel with a
there's a
brothel.
lot of stuff going on right here.
Dan, you're rich. You thought the same thing.
I'm going to tell you guys what is.
I'm like, I thought maybe he was trying to get the edge off. He had a big day ahead of him.
Dan,
He's like,
mistakes like that don't typically get tolerated from that seat. Just saying.
I'm getting started to not tolerate them, but you need to allow me to explain what I believe just happened here, because I am giving Andrew Hawkins a wide berth. At one point, he said something like a pony and show or something that wasn't a dog and pony show.
Dog and pony show, yeah.
And I gave him a wide berth because he's gotten off, first of all, what I am used to from that seat, Penei Sewell over Jamar Chase as a hot take, and Cheese is overrated.
Come on, though.
So he's given me two things that I need from this seat, and Cheese is overrated makes me think that he wants Dominique Foxworth's job on Get Up now because he's getting good at this game. When you go to Cheese is overrated, Andrew Hawkins has learned some things about the media business that he's had to learn over the last few years, and now he's just looking to get aggregated. On behalf of black people, I might add. Because he's speaking for the other America that's not being represented by this cheese-soaked show.
all right, let's every black person speaks for black people. That's number one. That's not a shtick. That is like the two Americas is obviously true. You guys know that. You've heard it 1,000 times. But honestly, that is the sentiment of me and Cheese. These aren't hot takes. This is just who I am. And a lot of people I feel like would back me up.
Lactose intolerant.
Lactose intolerant. Thank you. That's the first time you've heard that.
I have not heard lactose intolerant before. I must admit that is the first time I've ever heard that expression.
As well as the Penei Sewell take.
That's the first time I'd heard that, but that was old news to Jessica. Jessica's way out in front of all of us on football. She's like been gobbling up Hard Knocks. Like she can't get enough Hard Knocks.
I only because I very recently was on Dominique's podcast, and that exact take came up like a week ago. So it was fresh on my mind. But he's right about gobbling up Hard Knocks. Sorry, I can't say that with a straight face. I have been doing that. And when you talk about leadership, Hawk, I know you haven't seen the episode yet, but Tomlin, he kind of stands out in that group of 4 head coaches. I mean, Harbaugh's up there for sure, but if you're giving me Stefanski and Zach Taylor and Tomlin, and I'm hearing them all speak to the team before games, I'm like, oh, man, there is a big difference here in leadership.
Top coach I've ever wanted to play for is Mike Tomlin. And every player that's played for him says the same thing, you want to play for him. No matter who they played for, the Patriots, obviously the Browns, but you name it, Mike Tomlin is number one. So that does not surprise me.
He has to like cheese.
No way he eats cheese. No way Mike Tomlin can eat cheese.
Put it on the poll, please. Is Mike Tomlin lactose intolerant?
Yes.
Can you tell me, though, walk me through, leadership is overrated. Nobody knows how to lead. Mike Tomlin is a better leader than everybody else.
Hold on. See, now we're changing takes. I never said leadership is overrated.
Forgive me.
That was cheese.
Forgive me. That was cheese.
Cheese was overrated.
You know what?
No one knows how
You know
to
what?
lead.
My bad. I was so disoriented by the cheese is overrated thing that I'm like, this guy thinks everything's overrated. So that's my fault.
Can't impress the man.
That's my. So yes, you did not say that leadership was overrated, but you did say that nobody knows how to lead. But Mike Tomlin, 18 straight winning seasons would suggest that there's something he knows.
Yeah, he knows. I mean, he's a leader just naturally of who he is. Like, there are other people, like, you've been in situations, you've been in companies, you've been a part of teams, you've been a part of, whatever that is, where people take lead And it does not matter how many self-help books they've read or who they've studied or whatever leadership style they think they picked, they are just not good at leading. And so what I'm saying is I just feel like that is something naturally that you have an ability to do based on you being really comfortable in your person and doing what you do, and people just gravitate.
Okay, so authentic. In terms of authenticity, we've seen some fascinating things in football. I think over the last few years in coaching, Belichick's interviewing for the North Carolina job over here. He's been run out of the sport.
Yeah, that's crazy.
By the LaFleurs and the babies of the world who come in and I've got scheme for you. Now it's LaFleur against Ben Johnson and all that stuff, right? But in the middle of it is Man Campbell doing old football things in old football ways. While Man Campbell looks the part. He'll kick your head coach's ass. All of you. Whoever your head coach is, he'll kick his ass. LaFleur's in the middle of it. He's one of the math guys, the calculator guys, and he's fighting with fans. So let's get him after the game talking about this fan on the field and what LaFleur is saying, because that was a who's who game, and LaFleur lost it. And now I say Campbell's the only who here. LaFleur's got to earn his who. He doesn't earn it with a loss.
Yeah, I've never been a part of something like that. He was talking junk to our players, giving them the throat slash sign. And you're trying to de-escalate it, and then he gets in my face. So I thought it was pretty unsportsmanlike. Like, I've never seen that. I've been on many fields, and usually they police that much better. I thought it was an arrogant fan that, wanted to get in part of the action, and just I would like to see security or something step in there and get him out of there, because he shouldn't be doing that.
Hawk, help me with this part of it, because I actually got lost last night in a video of bears attacking people, and
real ones,
like Chicago bears.
Your algorithm.
It's not weird. It's fascinating. It's grizzlies, brown bears, but not actually getting them, just close calls where bears are interacting with others. And in the video, there was a drunk guy who got into an area where a bear was and a pool, purposely went into an enclosed area. And I'm thinking to myself, how drunk do you have to be to do that? All of which is to say, you just said that you're rabid on the field before games. Does that person not know how dangerous a situation that is to be doing throat-slashing gestures to those people before the game, when one of them will harm him if he does something much further than that, because he shouldn't be on the field? That's a dangerous place for him to be.
He feels like because he's down there and there's cameras, there is an insurance policy that somebody will not go off and punch him in the face. Now, look, they can do this cat and pony show, okay? But at the same time, whenever you are in that environment, I am okay. If LaFleur would have just straight hauled up and slapped him.
See, you're okay with that, and nobody
I would have been
else
like, that's the problem, Dan. You should be okay with that. Don't go into a Bears environment and expect not to be bitten.
You've always been pro-punching, pro-slapping in this scenario, because you've said it last week, too.
Context.
That, hey, if you're going to come into our scenario here, you might get una galleta, and then that happens.
And it'll teach you a lesson, and you won't do it anymore. When Sirianni yells at fans, I hate it, because he goes into their domain. He's over into the stands where they should enjoy the game or do whatever they'd like to do, and that's bad leadership to me. I feel like, you know what, stay where you are, let them stay where they are, and then we can go on with this equation that we've built at pro football. We be the players and coaches, let them be the fans. Whenever you're on the field and that maniac mentality is kicking in, anything is liable to happen.
Just to close the loop, Tomlin was eating chili cheese Fritos on Hard Knocks.
Cheese! I love those.
Yeah, but that's not real cheese, though.
Those
That's not
are
real
good.
cheese. That's like fake plastic.
If he likes the
chemical.
fake stuff, he likes the real stuff.
Those are the good ones, though. Those are hard to refuse.
Fritos are terrible.
Yeah.
And they smell bad.
I'm not a Frito guy either.
I'm with you on that.
They smell like the smell of Fritos literally
like
makes
corn
me sick.
either?
But it does go well with chili. I'll give it that.
Yeah. It's just, Dan, the facts are the facts.
What's your favorite food?
Spaghetti.
But wait a second. They put cheese on spaghetti, but not you?
No, they don't. No, not
You're
black
supposed
people.
to.
We don't put cheese on spaghetti, bro.
All right.
He's offensive to me.
Yeah.
Easy, Dan.
I find him offensive.
No, Fritos are...
He's entitled to his
Opinion.
experiences
Thank you.
and opinions.
Thank you, Jess. That means a lot.
I also can't digest cheese well, but it doesn't stop me.
Howdy, folks. It's Mike making this podcast time Miller time. That's right. Miller Lite makes all the great times even better. Why? Dependability, for one. Great taste, less filling. You know exactly what you get. Everybody's going to be happy because they're going to be drinking on a beer that tastes like beer. Can you imagine it? A taste that you know that you can depend on. No games, no gimmicks, just great beer for people who like beer. And that is immense come this holiday season. Say you're hosting or you're going over to a holiday party. What do you bring with you? A 12-pack of them Miller Lights. Beautiful color, wonderful white cans. This incredible flavor that you know only Miller Lite can deliver you. And at just 96 calories and 3.2 grams of carbs per 12 ounces, Miller time is always a good time. Making memories at your year-end gatherings tastes like Miller time. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.